Welcome back. This video is going to be focusing on my first video on mental healing, and just kind of, I want to say, a brief introduction, but yeah, just kind of start the ball rolling with that concept of what we can do. And so I guess I'm just going to start off with one thing that I've learned is that just like so many other things, we always feel like our way is the right way. And I think many times with that mindset, we have a tendency to think that if your way isn't my way, then it's the wrong way. And I think the reason why we think that other people's ways are the wrong ways is because we think, well, if theirs is right, well, then how can mine be right? And so we feel like there's these conflicting directions, and so we feel like there's only one direction to be correct. And the fact of the matter is that I found is that there are many right ways, and the key is just to figure out which way is your right way. And so, what's helped me isn't necessarily going to help other people, but I do think it will help people. And if nothing else, it'll at least get the ball rolling with seeking to figure out what works for you. And so, like, for example, I mean, it is very possible that traditional ways of addressing mental illness and mental unhappiness can be effective. But for myself, I found that it wasn't effective, because it would look at things, like I said, with textbooks, addressing syndromes, and having just a laid out step of 12 steps or whatever the certain program is, but it's this predetermined solution to a problem that hadn't existed when the text was created. And so that didn't really resonate with me, because it really didn't take into account any of my personal distinctions. It just kind of generalized that I was suffering from a certain type of pain, and how that pain affected me. This is how you correct that, and it didn't help me. For example, too, also with the concept of like antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills, I'm not saying not to use them, if you're suffering from depression, but I would say use them cautiously, because I was on antidepressants for, I think it was about a year, and it did help. How I described it, I wasn't on anything extremely powerful like Prozac or anything, but I was on a mild antidepressant. And how I put it was, it took the bite of my pain away. It didn't take it completely away. I was very conscious of my emotions and my pain, but it just didn't feel as overwhelming. And so it did help. But I think it was like 6 months ago, whatever, I got off of them, and there was a certain level I was doing a lot better than I had in the past. And I knew it was just something I would have to get to. I knew there was a certain point where I didn't want to be on them forever. I didn't want to be dependent on them. I would say it was like crutches or something, where it helped me along, but I didn't want to just not be able to cope and not be able to live life without that help. I wanted to be able to walk on my own strength, and so I went off them, and I did certainly notice that my pain felt a little heavier, but as I got used to that weight, I was able to strengthen myself and deal with that. And so I think that's how I would address being cautious with antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills, is to make sure that you don't use them as a permanent crutch or what have you. Is you don't want to become the point where you can't deal with your pain without them. I know that there are times in our lives when life is so heavy and so weighing down on us, where it is important to get that help to get through those tough times. But I would just encourage caution, just so that you don't get to a point where you can't walk on your own strength. And so, like I said, that's one of the things with being aware of what works for us, and not necessarily denying what works for other people. For example, I would never, I would say I would never, but I probably wouldn't do pretty good with like a group therapy, because I'm much more comfortable and I'm much more apt to be open about my pain one-on-one, or maybe 2 or 3 other people, but I really wouldn't be very comfortable being vulnerable with a big group of people, because myself, I'm extremely analytical and extremely perceptive of people's behavior and reaction to what I'm talking about. And so I can kind of read their body language and read their interaction with what I'm talking about to see if they have interest. And I might start talking a little bit about my pain or whatever, but if someone's not really giving me a lot of feedback and a lot of interest in what I'm saying, then I'll let the conversation dissolve, so that I don't feel like I'm just talking to myself, because I feel like that's where a lot of people can be discouraged about opening up about their pain. I think that's probably the root of why a lot of people have problems talking publicly. There's just massive people with their eyes on you, and granted, you got to take consideration that 9 times out of 10 they're usually there to hear what you have to say, but it's that terrified feeling of judgment that makes a lot of people choke up and to the point where they just are terrified of speaking in front of large groups. And I think it's just because of that lack of being able to read the crowd, so to speak, and read their interest. And so, for me, I don't think group therapy would really help from that aspect. I like to maybe visit with, group therapy and try to talk about my own pain as an example to try to encourage people. But I don't think I'd do very well trying to get much strength from it myself. I would try to more just help. But that was the other thing too, is that, I don't, honestly, I'm not, how I like to describe what works for me is I benefit more from indirect healing, so to speak, indirect observation, where I'm not necessarily talking about my pain and trying to get feedback as much as more just talk about my pain, have other people talk about their pain, and just try to, find patterns in what helps us all, but not necessarily, I don't know. Just whenever you see those movies or TV shows, when you see someone lying on a couch and just kind of unloading, I don't think I'd do well with that, because there's that back and forth. I saw a therapist for, I think it was a good year, maybe it's a little longer, but the last therapist I saw was extremely helpful. She was great, but when I was first trying to seek help, I think it was about a year and a half after my brother was killed, I went to counselor. And I think the first few sessions we had was helpful, because it was the first time I was talking about my pain in a year and a half. After my brother was killed, I didn't really talk to anybody about my pain. And so at first it was helpful because I was talking about things that I had never talked about. So it was kind of a certain level of release and decompression. But after a while, there came a point where all I was doing is just I would say getting validation. I just kept being told, oh, you feel sad because your brother died. You feel this, you feel that. Well, it's completely normal. It's completely normal that you feel that way. And I'm like, well, okay, that doesn't help me. You saying that it's normal for you to be sad, because that's not enlightenment. I'm not learning anything about myself. You're just validating anything I say. And so that wasn't beneficial. And then on the other side, there are times where you're being told how to react. You need to do this. All right, welcome back. Sorry, I had an issue with my camera. So getting back to what I was talking about as far as what works for me has just been indirect help. Me just kind of observing other people talking about their pain, or other people talking about events that have taken place. Like I said, I just watched their behavior. I watched the impact it had, and I reflected on my own pain and how I'd react, and just kind of make sense of it all. But that's just how it worked for me, was me being able to take information in, but for it to not be the I want to say the intent, but it wasn't the focus of what was going on. I was able to take information in and learn stuff, but it wasn't like someone was talking to me and telling me how I should feel or how I should react. It was more just them using their own examples and their own testimonies, and me seeing if it lined up with how I felt, or if it was a piece of how I felt, or whatnot. And so for myself, that helped me, and that's kind of what motivated me to start this channel. Was that I thought to myself that, frankly, I think how people should, seek help, or even seek how to help other people, would be indirectly. If you want to get help from this channel, you can watch it, and just because you watch the video doesn't mean that you're suffering from mental illness or mental unhappiness or depression. It just means maybe you're curious, or maybe you want to help somebody else. And so I feel like with that lack of pressure on you, and that lack of of people around you judging you, and like I said in the past, it's not necessarily that they're judging you, but that fear that you have that they are judging you. I think it just deters a lot of people from getting help. And like I said, I'm just not a huge fan of huge confrontations, like interventions and such, because there's all these eyes are on you, waiting for you to act, waiting for you to better your life. And to me, I think the best way to better your life is at your own pace, because we all know what we're capable of. Having somebody tell us what we should be capable of or where we should be with our pain, I just don't think it's very helpful. I think it's counterproductive. I think it prevents us from actually getting help. I think it, like I said, in that movie about escapism and addiction, I feel like that pushes us towards those things. Again, that's not necessarily that isn't the intentions of people trying to help us, but I think that's the end result. Is that it's that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And yet so many times I feel like that's what society is doing. I feel like that's what people around us are doing. They're telling us to drink. We've led you to water, now drink. And there's that certain level of being stubborn and just being, just aware of where you're at. And again, I feel like with that type of confrontation and that type of, I want to say judgment, but that type of expectation for someone of, this is where you need to be with your pain. This is what you need to do to heal. I feel like that hardens your heart. And so you're less apt to even get help. Whereas if you could do it at your own pace, if, like I said, don't focus on waking up one day and just being transformed. It's just a matter of committing to slowly improving. And so I really hope that these videos can help, and this channel can help by being a source where people can watch these videos and reflect on their own pain as I speak and talk about certain subjects, and not have any eyes on them, waiting for them to act, waiting for them to pick up the gauntlet. And so it's really just kind of, when you're ready, you'll know what you can do. I know what I'm capable of getting done, and when I'm capable of getting it done. There are certain days I'm extremely productive and I can get a lot done. I can be motivated but when I'm being told that I need to do this, I need to do that, a lot of times I just feel this kind of sense of, I don't want to say pettiness, but yeah, I can kind of feel myself emotionally dragging my feet, because I'm just cycling back to, who are you to tell me what I need to be doing? I know what I need to be doing. Again, I think a lot of it comes back to that we need a sense of control in our lives, and there's a lot of things that we can't control, and usually with traumatic pain, that was the most significant thing that's happened in our lives that we couldn't control, and there's this desire to take control of our lives. But like I said, when you're being told you need to do this, you need to do that, a lot of times, you don't act, you don't seek help, you don't get help, you don't hear the words of wisdom being talked to you, because you feel like you're being talked at, not talked with. You don't feel like you're involved in the process. You feel like almost like you're being treated like a child. And so I think it's very important for people who are suffering from mental illness and depression to be treated like adults, and for their pain to be validated, and for that correction to be at their own pace. And so, yes, like I said, this is just the first video of many videos that will be talking about the process of healing and what's helped me and what may help others. But yes, I'm just ready to get going, and I hope everyone's able to learn something about their own pain, or about other people's pain that are in their lives, and just be able to better themselves, and just find a sense of connection that we all long for. But yes, as always, good luck and good night.